just doesn't like me about this platform that I'm using. So to start again, on Sunday, the Prop 4 repeal campaign dropped a ton of signatures. They said that they got over 200,000 signatures. Now, remember, that's for the entire campaign. They did not drop 200,000 signatures on Sunday. I'll help you understand how that works. But here's what you need to know. And I'm looking at a bunch of questions that are popping up in the chat, and I will get to them in a moment. Here's what you need to know. As of Friday, they had about 90,000 verified signatures, and they needed 51,800 more to go to reach the statewide requirement of 140,748 signatures. And then all of a sudden on Sunday, which was the deadline, they dropped tens of thousands, probably more than 100,000 new signatures. And I've seen people saying, where did these come from? Are they? There's been a lot of irresponsible speculation that they're fraudulent. It's kind of a boring answer where these signatures came from. Under Utah law, once the first signature is entered into a signature packet, they have 30 days to turn in those signatures. So that means that probably a lot of those signatures that we saw come in on Sunday had been out there for more than a month. Those packets had been out there for more than a month. That's the first thing you need to understand. So when they dropped all those signatures, they did not collect 100,000 or so signatures over the last week, over the last few days. That's not what happened. These were packets that had been in the works for at least 30 days or up to 30 days. That's what Utah law says. So that's the first thing that happened with this. And so they did not just magically come up with a bunch of signatures. These packets had been in the works for several weeks, or could have been in the works for several weeks, and that's what was included in this signature dump. And you see this all the time with signature campaigns. They have a big dump of signatures at the end, a big, they submit a whole bunch of them at the end, and that's what they did. I was texting with Rob Axon. He is the chairman of the Utah Republican Party today. He's also the head of Utahns for Representative Government. That is the group that is behind this repeal campaign. And he said, campaigns are meant to be a crescendo. And that's what happened. Now, there are people who are saying they were sandbagging. Why were they sandbagging? I don't think they were intentionally sandbagging. You have to understand that these signatures were going out all across the state, and then they had to be collected and brought in. Now, maybe they held some at the very end, and maybe they held some to have a dramatic effect, but they always knew that they had to be in by Sunday, the 15th. So people were claiming they were sandbagging, I don't think that that's the case. Maybe a little bit, but I don't think that's the primary reason they were doing it. I think they were just doing it for logistical reasons. These packets had to get out, to all four corners, all the corners of the state, and then they had to be brought back in, and they had to be circulated at that time and signatures. So they had the 30 days. So that's the boring answer as to where these signatures came from. I don't think that they were making up signatures. I don't think they forged signatures. I've seen people talking about that, all sorts of conspiratorial stuff. I don't think that that's the case. I think they just had a bunch of signatures, and they knew how many packets were out there, or they got these packets in the last couple of days, and then decided to put them all in on Sunday. And of course, theatricality is part of it. It worked, didn't it? It got your attention. It freaked everybody out that there were so many signatures. If you remember, the the referendum to repeal the union busting law, HB 267 last year, they dropped a bunch of signatures all at once, right at the end. Everybody does it. Dramatic effect, a flair for the dramatic. It's attention grabbing. It sets a narrative, right? So that's probably part of it. So let's try to understand how many signatures they actually submitted on Sunday, because it wasn't 200,000. They said 200,000 signatures. Actually, what Rob Axson is now saying is it's many tens of thousands above that. So I'm going to assume many tens of thousands could be 230, 240,000 signatures. That's for the entire campaign. That's what you need to understand, okay? It's for the entire campaign. It's not just on Sunday. And remember, coming into the weekend, they already had 90,000 verified. And you know what? It's probably the best thing to do here is to get my whiteboard. So hang on, I'm going to grab my whiteboard so I can have a visual aid and explain how this works. So hold on. And I need to get a marker. All right. Let me erase this up here. Let's see. There's blue. Yeah, we'll do this. So, all right. Whiteboard time, everybody. So, as of Friday, they had approximately 90,000 verified. Okay? As of Friday, they had approximately 90,000 verified signatures. All right? That's the first thing. But it probably took them, they had a bunch of signatures thrown out to get to 90,000. And right now, and these are the figures that I've seen, and these are probably these are figures I've seen, and Rob Axson, who is the head of this repeal effort, he confirmed to me that we're looking at about a 75% acceptance rate. So 25% of signatures on average, for the most part, are getting thrown out. So to get those 90,000 signatures, they needed 120,000. Okay? You submit 120,000 signatures, and 75% of those get accepted, so that gets you 90,000 verified, okay? So coming into Friday, they had 120,000 signatures, so let's start there. I think that's a reasonable place to start. Now, the next thing you need to understand is there is a lag between, and it looks like YouTube just froze up again. Fun. Let me see if this is working. If YouTube froze up again, I'm going to have to stop and restart just to get things going here. Nope, looks like we're here. We're back on it. So the next thing you need to understand is there is a lag in how signatures are verified. Signatures are, you know what I'm going to do? Give me half a second. I'll be back. I just need to turn down the frame rate because I'm afraid that we're going to freeze up and I don't want to do that. So once again, give me half a second and